Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk coming your way on a red Friday, not just a red Friday, a super red Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 2 days away from Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. The Chiefs on the doorstep of history, trying to become the first team to win 3 consecutive Super Bowls. Will it be destiny realized or destiny denied? The Philadelphia Eagles stand in the Chiefs' way of history this coming Sunday. And we have got a Red Friday Super Bowl preview edition of 580 Sports Talk for you here this afternoon on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online worldwide at 580WIBW.com. And on our live video stream, we are streaming on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page, WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis will be along in just a little bit. Brendan Dworzinski is off today. He'll be back on Monday. Lots to talk about here on 580 Sports Talk today. 2.5 hours in which to get it done. We're off early tonight because of high school basketball. Our 580 Preps game of the week tonight. Coverage starting at approximately 5:30. We've got action in the United Kansas Conference tonight as Topeka West plays host to Piper. Huge boys game. Number 2 Piper, number 6 Topeka West in action tonight. So the boys half of the doubleheader is going to be a real doozy. Topeka High winning at Piper, or rather Topeka West winning at Piper by 1 back in December. So that second game should be really, really good. I'll be on the call with my good friend, the coach, Larry Latimer, from the Charger Dome. And again, pregame coverage will start at about 5:30. So over the next 2.5 hours, we've got an issue of 580 Sports Talk, an episode, however you want to call it. And we are talking Chiefs Eagles. The day has come to get our predictions down, to go on record with what we think is going to happen in Super Bowl 59. So of course, we want to see your Super Bowl predictions. Who's going to win? What's the score going to be? Who's going to win the MVP? Tell us all about it. We want to hear your predictions today on the show. The text line is open, 785-272-9429. That's 785-272-9429. That's the text line number. You can also drop your predictions in the live chat if you are watching the video stream, the YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. There's a live chat feature on the web browser and on the mobile app, and you can post in the live chat, interact with your fellow listeners, interact with your host throughout the show today. Want to know who you think is going to win? I mean, we are smack in the middle of the kingdom, right? I think most people think the Chiefs are going to win. I'd love to hear from anybody who thinks the Eagles are going to win. I'd love to hear from that particular listener or listeners today. You tell me why you think it's going to be an Eagles victory in the Super Bowl. I will make my prediction. We'll get Spencer's prediction as well. We'll have keys to the game, of course. I've got a lengthy list, of course. It has to be a super list, right? Because it's a super red Friday, because it's the freaking Super Bowl. So I've got a longer list of keys to the game, and I will have my prediction, but I do want to hear yours throughout the show today as well. Drop them in the live chat on YouTube. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. Bottom of this hour, our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, is going to join us. And we will get Matt's thoughts from New Orleans. We're going to first get his review of the muffaletta, the sandwich that is a must-try if you are down by the bayou. He had one earlier today. I saw it posted on his social media. So we're going to have to get a sandwich review from Matt Derrick, and then we'll get into the important stuff. We'll get into the football stuff and get Matt's thoughts on this Super Bowl 59 matchup. We'll also talk about why, should the Chiefs win on Sunday, it's probably not going to be something that the stats can explain. we're numbers guys on 580 Sports Talk. You may have noticed that over time. Myself and Brendan, certainly, we're numbers guys. We're analytics guys. We like to look and dig deep into the numbers. And we try, and we really try, not to do it in such a way that it feels like we're trying to lecture you in the front of an algebra class. But the numbers, the stats, the trends, we do our best to make those digestible when we refer to them on the show. But what the Chiefs have done and what the Chiefs could do on Sunday defies a lot of the statistical evaluation or projection of this game. I think the best way to kind of point to a little bit what I'm referring to here is that I've talked about Aaron Schatz and his work. Used to be with Football Outsiders, helped found the statistical measure DVOA, value over average. He's now at FTN Fantasy, wrote a really long statistical preview, and you read the stats for this game, and you read about Philadelphia's number one defense, and they're great over the middle, and they don't give you anything short. Their coverage unit is great, and the Chiefs are just kind of meh. The pass defense numbers aren't real great. Their rush defense numbers haven't been really good second half of the year. Their point differential is what it is, and all of these things that Aaron Schatz writes about. And then he gets to the end of his Super Bowl preview at ftnfantasy.com and says, but yeah, I'm picking the Chiefs. And that kind of sums it up. Because the numbers are going to tell you one thing and the trends are going to tell you one thing, but these Chiefs insist on telling a different story. And I'll explain further why I think that is going to be something that is definitive when we get to Sunday. Plus, we'll have everything else that you've come to know and love from a Friday show. It'll change my mind. On second thought, we'll crown a weekly What Is Wrong With You champion. 580 Sports Talk headlines, top of the 5 o'clock hour. Spencer's got you after What Is Wrong With You until the end of the show. So Spencer's going to run down the headlines. Final participation report. Nothing to worry about for the Chiefs. Sky Moore's doubtful. Everybody else, good to go. Chiefs are loaded for bear for Super Sunday. It's also got the headlines from last night's NFL honors and the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025, including a former Chief. Oh, and also, K-State lost their offensive line coach and co-offensive coordinator to the Dallas Cowboys today. That came out of nowhere. Connor Riley decamping from Manhattan to Dallas, following the path of one of his prized pupils, Cooper Beebe. We'll talk about that in 580 Sports Talk headlines as well. Plus, again, your interaction with the show today. Text the program, 785-272-9429. Can also interact with us in the live chat on the YouTube stream. Again, we are streaming our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We're also streaming the video on Facebook at WIBW News. Without further ado, let's get into it. Chiefs-Eagles, 59th edition of the grandest sporting event in America, the Super Bowl. Usually I have two keys to the game. Well, right now, Spencer's going to give you his keys to the game later on in the show. Brendan, off this week, taking the week off. He's not offering any keys to the game. So I've got a supersized edition of my keys to the game for Sunday at the Superdome. First key to the game, singles and doubles, no home runs. That was the analogy that Mitch Holtis, voice of the Chiefs, used when we had him on the show last night, talking about how the Chiefs as a defense understand that Saquon Barkley is such a singular talent that stopping him, eliminating him entirely, is a lot easier said than done. What has to be eliminated are the long runs, the explosive play, touchdown runs from Saquon Barkley. Barkley had 13 runs this season of 30 or more yards. That can't happen in this game. The Eagles as a whole have a lot of their touchdowns this year from what you would call explosive plays. But Saquon Barkley responsible for a lot of them. Against the Rams in the regular season, he had touchdown runs of 70 and 72 yards. He had a 68-yard touchdown run against the Commanders, also in the regular season. Then, of course, he duplicated those feats with long touchdown runs against, you guessed it, the Rams and the Commanders in the postseason. Saquon Barkley is a home run hitter. You have to keep him inside the ballpark if you're the Chiefs. I think they've got a really good chance to do that because I do believe that they are one of the best tackling teams in the league. And I do think that the Commanders defense and the Rams defense is uniquely kind of a sieve, both of those teams, particularly when January rolled around. But it doesn't just apply to Saquon Barkley, this idea of keeping the Eagles, again, if we're mixing our sports metaphors here, keeping them in the ballpark. It also applies to the passing game because the Eagles scored plenty of explosive pass plays this season. A 67-yard pass to A.J. Brown in the season opener against Green Bay. A 41-yard pass to Brown against the Giants. A 45-yard pass to Devontae Smith against Cleveland. Another 45-yard pass to Devontae Smith against Cincinnati. A 25-yard touchdown pass to Devontae Smith that was decisive in a win over Jacksonville. Lots of long touchdown passes for the Eagles. They had a long touchdown pass against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57. Hurts connecting with Devontae Smith for 41 yards. Those are the kinds of plays you have to take out of the Eagles' diet. They've been a little bit boom or bust when it comes to those plays this year. When they do not generate them, they have generally struggled to finish drives and score points. And those dovetail because when this team finishes drives shy of the end zone, they have not been able to rely on their typically reliable kicker, Jake Elliott, who missed 8 field goals this season, 6 of them coming from 50 yards plus. With this being the Super Bowl, certainly you would expect Nick Sirianni to be more aggressive on fourth downs if he gets into plus territory. But still, the Eagles build a lot of their scoring on explosive plays. If the Chiefs can limit those and keep the Eagles to singles and doubles throughout the game, that's going to give them a really good chance on Sunday. Second key of the game. It's the matchup on the right side of the Chiefs offensive line. Trey Smith and Jawan Taylor against Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith, the 2 former Georgia Bulldogs. If the Chiefs win this matchup, I think they're going to win the game. This might be the most important key to the whole thing. If Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are limited in their impact, then I think the Chiefs are going to be able to do what it is that they want to do on offense. I think that Creed Humphrey at center is going to be tasked, particularly on obvious passing downs, with helping out Mike Caliendo at left guard. Making sure that the defensive tackle on that side of the play, which in passing situations has been Milton Williams, helping keep him out of the backfield and helping Caliendo avoid any moments like the one in the fourth quarter of the AFC Championship game where Jordan Phillips, shout out to Circle High School, carried Caliendo into the backfield and basically threw Caliendo into Patrick Mahomes for a sack. Can't have that. Caliendo's the weak link. That means Humphrey's going to help. That means it's going to be a lot of one-on-one, Trey Smith and Jalen Carter. Now, Carter's been great in the playoffs. That's a big part of why the threats to the Chiefs feel so large, is because the best players on both sides of the field for the Eagles, Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter, have been at their best in the last 2 games when everybody's been watching. But those have been really advantageous matchups for both of those guys. Barkley, as we talked about, against porous run defenses and not the Chiefs, who are really good against the run in general and one of the best tackling teams in the league. And Jalen Carter is going up against a guard that everybody expects is going to reset the free agent guard market with a big contract this offseason. Then you have on the outside Jawan Taylor against Nolan Smith. And Smith has the speed and pass rush chops to give Taylor some trouble. But Taylor just has to have a stalemate on the outside. Stalemate will work fine. Andrew Wiley played to a stalemate in Super Bowl 57, and that worked A-okay. That's all they need from Jawan Taylor. No back-breaking, holding penalties on third down conversions that wipe out a drive. No false starts that put you in a 2nd and 15 or a 3rd and 15. If he can limit those and limit Nolan Smith, and Trey Smith digs in against Jalen Carter and does the job that you would expect a player of Trey Smith's caliber to be able to do, even against a player of Jalen Carter's caliber, that might be the matchup that if the Chiefs win it, probably most directly correlates to them winning the game. Because if those two aren't heard from, it's hard to imagine the Eagles being able to disrupt the Chiefs offensively for 60 minutes. Third key to the game, got to turn the Eagles into a 3-down offense. And what I mean by that, like I said earlier, this is the Super Bowl. The Eagles are already plenty aggressive on 4th down because they've got the tush push, the brotherly shove, the quarterback sneak, however you like to call it. I don't really like tush push. Kind of gross. Clever, but not my favorite thing to call it. I just go with the QB sneak. The Eagles sneak what it would have been called in like a Madden playbook back in the day. But that play works really well on 4th and short for the Eagles, and they're not going to be shy about running it in any situation. If you don't want to see that play, you have to keep the Eagles out of 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. So that doesn't just mean winning on 3rd down. It does, but it doesn't just mean that. You have to win on 1st and 2nd down as well. You have to limit the success rate of Saquon Barkley's 1st down carries. You have to force them into situations where they are in obvious 3rd down passing downs. And then you have to either force Jalen Hurts to throw it away or scramble out of bounds. Make sure you get guys down short of the sticks. Put them in 4th and 3. Put them in 4th and 4. Because you know what they're not going to do on 4th and 3, 4th and 4? Run the tush push. They're going to punt that ball back to the Chiefs. So staying out of makeable 4th downs is going to be huge because that's the way, A, the Eagles shorten the game, limit the number of possessions, and B, limit the amount that Patrick Mahomes can make on the game because he's standing on the sideline. Got to turn the Eagles into a 3-down offense. And my 4th and final key to the game, stars have to be stars. You want to argue that the Eagles have a better 53-man roster than the Chiefs? I'll listen to that argument, and I might even agree with it, to be honest with you. 1 through 53, is it better than the Chiefs 1 through 53? Yeah, it might be. Maybe a little deeper in spots. Certainly, there are some spots where they are better all around than the Chiefs are. Who has the better offensive line? I think it's the Eagles, and I don't think it's really debatable. Who has the better group of wide receivers? Certainly 1-2. I like Philadelphia's better than I like Kansas City's 1-2. All those things are true. But I think that has become such a big talking point in this game was, well, the Eagles have the better roster. Eagles have the better, the top to bottom. They've got more talent on their roster. And while that may be true, do you know who has the best quarterback in this game? Of course you do. It's the Chiefs. Do you know who has the best tight end in this game? With respect to Dallas Goedert, who's a nice player. It's the Chiefs. It's still Travis Kelce. Who has the best defensive lineman in this game? With respect to Jalen Carter, it's not the Eagles. That would be Chris Jones. Who's got the best defensive back in this game? Love Quinyon Mitchell. Like Cooper DeJean a lot. But the answer is the Chiefs. It's Trent McDuffie. So if you want to tell me that the Eagles' 20th to 30th best guys are better than the Chiefs' 20th to 30th or 20th to 40th best guys, if that's how you want to measure this matchup, that's fine. But the guys who are going to make the biggest impact on this game, and this is always true, are the stars. And if all 4 of those players who are the best at their respective positions in this game for the Chiefs, McDuffie, Jones, Kelce, and especially Patrick Mahomes, if they play like the greats that they are, if they play like the greats that they have in previous Super Bowls, it ain't going to matter that the Eagles have a better 1 through 53. What's going to matter is the dudes were dudes. And if the Chiefs dudes are all dudes, they're going to hoist another Lombardi trophy on Sunday night. We're going to take our first break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, officially, we'll make our predictions for Super Bowl 59. We want to hear yours. Text them in, 785-272-9429. Leave them in the YouTube live chat as well on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Matt Derrick's going to join us in about 10 minutes or so as well. We are just getting started on a Super Red Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk. 3:30 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer hanging out with you until about 5:30 tonight. Then we'll pass it over to the 580 Preps Game of the Week, which really means Spencer will be passing it back to me. Myself and Larry Latimer will be on the call from the Charger Dome tonight as Topeka West takes on Piper. Reminder that today on our sister stations, the Big 94.5 Country and Country 106.9, is the second day of the St. Jude Radiothon. That is our radiothon that benefits St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. When you support St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, you're helping an organization that has helped push the overall childhood cancer survival rate from 20% to more than 80%. But we're not stopping until that number gets to 100%. And you can be a partner in hope today. Get one of those cool This Shirt Saves Lives shirts that you've seen on country music superstars and also on yours truly on yesterday's show. The number to call to become a partner in hope today, donate to St. Jude Children's Hospital, 800-592-3530. That's 800-592-3530. One more time, that number to become a St. Jude's partner in hope, 800-592-3530. It is prediction time. Super Bowl 59. The Chiefs are 1-point favorites, according to our friends at Prairie Band Sportsbook. Lots of other places have the Chiefs 1.5-point favorites. ESPN Bet actually went to a pick'em at one point earlier today. So this kind of action has been all over the board for Chiefs and Eagles. The total at Prairie Band Sportsbook, 48.5. Before my pick, Spencer, give it to me. Give me your prediction. And instead of our big chief, let's just predict who's going to win the MVP.
All right. I think this is going way over the under a 48.5. And I think the Chiefs solidly cover in this one. Chiefs 34, I guess solidly because it's more than 1 point. So
yeah,
Chiefs 34, Eagles 28. I've been tinkering with that number for the last few days. I actually, funny enough, I got one of those alert notifications from Facebook. So back after college, I just was doing a podcast before I could find a job, and this was the Buccaneers Chiefs Super Bowl. I had the Buccaneers score correct, not the Chiefs. So I'm hoping I get the Chiefs score correctly this year. Chiefs 34, Eagles 28, with Patrick Mahomes being the MVP. I tinkered with Kareem Hunt, but I chose not to.
Mahomes is 3 for 3 winning MVPs when his team wins.
Yes.
So for this game, I gave you my keys to the game earlier. Spencer's going to give you his keys to the game in the 4 o'clock hour. And I'm going back to something that I said on Monday, that, look, we got a week to chew this game up and look at it from all sides. But at the end, it's going to come down to the fact that the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. And I trust those two to figure it out. And if the game is close, I figure the Chiefs are going to find a way. I figure Mahomes is going to find a way. I think they find a way again to complete the three-peat. I've got the Chiefs 27-23. I think both teams start fast. It turns into a bit of a defensive struggle in the second half. Talked about that on yesterday's show. That is over the total of 48.5. I think the Chiefs, with a late touchdown, defeat the Eagles 27-23. And yeah, the MVP is going to be Mahomes again. So predictions from the listening audience today in the YouTube live chat. Mark H says Chiefs 34-31. Says something tells me it will be a close game again. Mark, that's probably having watched every Chiefs game that's telling you that this Chiefs game is going to be
Mark,
close.
I had that same score I was tinkering around with.
Trevor says 28-17 Chiefs. This is the one they finally put away before the final 2 minutes of the game. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice not to sweat out a Chiefs Super Bowl win? Paul in the YouTube comments, Chiefs 31-27, but we do sweat it out as Philly has final possession with a chance to win. Clayton's picking scoregami in the Super Bowl. Remember the last scoregami we got in the Super Bowl? I do. 43-8, Super Bowl 48.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Seahawks over Broncos. Clayton says 32-22 Chiefs. That's kind of fun. And Christopher is in with a prediction, 31-24 in favor of Kansas City. Keep those predictions coming to the YouTube live chat. You can also text the program, 785-272-9429, and get those predictions in. We want to hear how you think Super Bowl 59 will unfold. It kicks off just after 5:30 on Sunday. You can catch all the action from Westwood One here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9, starting with pregame coverage on Sunday at 1 o'clock. The night will conclude with Chiefs Radio Network postgame following the trophy presentation. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, Matt Derrick from ChiefsDigest.com will join us live from Nolens as we continue to break down Super Bowl 59 on a Red Friday on 580 Sports Talk. Live and direct from New Orleans, Louisiana, is our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline, as he does every Friday here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt is the Chiefs beat writer for ChiefsDigest.com. You can find him across social media simply by searching for his name, Matt Derrick. Matt, first things first, how was the muffaletta?
It was really good. I mean, I'll admit I am not a. There was an olive loaf salad on there. I'm not a fan of olives. I probably could have done without that, but the rest of it was just priceless. Food here is fantastic.
Yeah, what's your go-to New Orleans food stuff that you've gotten a chance to try this week?
I mean, I'm gonna be probably a contrarian here, because everything's been good. I mean, we went to an Italian place that was pretty good. I didn't think about Italian in New Orleans, but hey, it's a thing, and it was pretty good too. But it's the South. I love fried chicken, so I mean, I'll eat Popeyes. You know that.
Yeah.
But there's this place, downtown. It's in the French Quarter too. Willie's Chicken Shack had that the other day. Fantastic. I mean, I could live on a diet of just fried chicken down here. I couldn't live long, but I could live on it.
All I gotta do is tell you, there's a place down the French Quarter called Willie's Chicken Shack. I would trust it with my life. I would 100% walk in there and get one of everything on the menu, just sight unseen. Absolutely. Matt, how does New Orleans compare to the other Super Bowl cities that you've had a chance to cover the Chiefs in so far?
Yeah, really great question. And I've been talking about that with some people this week because, Miami was all spread out. And if you were there for Friday and Saturday on South Beach, you probably had a pretty good time, although you were stuck. And I apologize. I am still walking back from the French Quarter, so you're probably getting a little traffic background.
That's all good. My
apologies.
That's all good. That's the local flavor. That's just fine.
It is definitely some local flavor. So, I mean, this is close to that, although I think this is even better atmosphere because, like I said, Miami was so spread out. Everything in New Orleans is right there. You don't have to go anywhere for any of the events. Almost anything you want to go to is within walking distance from the convention center where media stuff is done to the team hotels, stadium. I mean, it's all there. So, and that was not the case in, of course, Phoenix, and Vegas. Vegas is Vegas, but I tell you what, I mean, New Orleans and Vegas both have experience with events like this. But and I'll see if I change my mind over the weekend. But so far, I would say New Orleans is doing better than Vegas did.
Our guest is Matt Derrick, Chiefs writer for ChiefsDigest.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, let's dive into the game. You've had a chance, obviously, to be there this week, to see the Chiefs, to listen to them, interact with them as they've gone about their business here in their Super Bowl week. How does it compare to the way that the Chiefs have gone about their business in previous Super Bowl weeks? Because it sure doesn't seem like they're carrying any extra baggage with the thought of a three-peat or anything like that.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, talking to players and coaches this week, I get the sense that, to a degree, the three-peat is low on the list of priorities. I mean, number one, obviously, is winning a Super Bowl. I mean, that's the one they always want to win, the one in front of them. And you got veterans on this team like Mahomes and Kelsey and Jones who are there to remind everybody, hey, you can't take it for granted that you're going to go to the Super Bowl every year. You got to win the one in front of you, and you don't want to know what it feels like to be on the losing end of this game. Yet at the same time, it's really there's a quiet confidence about this team, even the young guys. And and the other thing, I think even before three-peat, if you ask these guys, what do they want to get out of this game? They want to win it for the guys that don't have a ring. I mean, they want to win it for Charles Omenihu and DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt and Hollywood Brown. That's a big motivator for these guys.
As you look at this matchup, one thing I keep coming back to as far as the on-the-field matchup is, what's the Eagles' plan if they can't get a four-man rush? Because that's Vic Fangio's whole thing. He doesn't want to send extra blitzers. He wants to win with four and then be able to shut down big plays on the back end. Mahomes and the Chiefs have seen that plenty of times. Mahomes famously 8-0 against Fangio defenses. But it's a Eagles front that's played really well throughout the playoffs, but I don't know that they've seen an offensive line, frankly, as good as the Chiefs. I certainly don't think Jalen Carter's seen a right guard matchup as good as Trey Smith. How influential do you see that particular matchup being, the Chiefs O-line and the Eagles D-line? Is that kind of the whole ballgame?
I tell you what, I mean, I think it's 50% of it because I think that this game by and large is going to be decided in the trenches on both sides. And that is huge. Absolutely. And remember too, well, I guess we'll go to that when we talk about the other side of the line, but yeah, I mean, the Eagles defensive line, I mean, it's good. It's not as good as it was 2 years ago. And the strength of that team was on the edges. The strength of this team is on the interior, and Jalen Carter. That's the guy you got to worry about the most. If you can contain Carter, I think everybody else you can handle one-on-one. And once again, I mean, how are the Eagles going to use Jalen Carter? I mean, most of the time he'd be going up against the left guard. I mean, is that how they want him? Because I think Trey Smith is going to be able to take care of him. Do they move him over to attack Mike Caliendo? I mean, that's one of the things that the Chiefs are going to have to kind of factor in as the game goes on. But I'm with you. I mean, I think the Chiefs do have I think that matchup is in their favor.
Kind of to piggyback off that, Matt, one thing I heard from Justin Reed earlier this week was he knows the defense knows they're not going to 100% stop Saquon Barkley, but he said they have to contain him. How do the Chiefs contain a guy like Saquon Barkley?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I mean, part of it obviously starts with the offensive line, what we're talking about. You gotta plug up the holes. You can't let him get an inch, because what he's so good at is getting to the second level, making guys miss, and then he's gone. And even though I like the Chiefs' second level, you can't give him that chance inside. And he's obviously successful running outside too. But when he runs outside, he's going to run into really the teeth of the Chiefs' run defense, which is that they've got safeties and cornerbacks who aren't afraid to tackle and aren't afraid to hit guys. So I just don't see where the opening is for Saquon. I mean, if he can get past the first level, obviously he's always a threat to make a big play. But I don't know that the Eagles have really faced a secondary that's as physical against the run as the Chiefs are.
And Matt, last week one of the big topics on the show was the guys the Chiefs acquired after St. Joe. One of those guys being DeAndre Hopkins. And how do you think his game plays well to his first Super Bowl that he's going to be in? And do you think there's a chance he could have a legacy type game?
That's your Super Bowl. It's not the right. Sorry. Are you still there?
Yeah, we still got you, Matt.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I was having two conversations at the same time.
Hey, no worries. The question was about DeAndre Hopkins and the impact he can have on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be like a huge expanded role for him, because I think that he's got his package, and he knows what he's going to do. So I don't know if it's that big of a deal, as far as, about how many snaps that he plays. But the thing is that I think that he can be a real threat in some specific situations. I don't think he's going to play a ton of snaps. I think he'll probably still be in that kind of 18, 20-ish range. But he can be a real threat on some third downs, red zone situations. I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise if he got a touchdown, because they can design some things up for him. But I think, you have to accept the fact that coming in mid-season, there is only so much that a guy, even as good as a player that DeAndre Hopkins is, that can pick up all of the, in any read offense. But he's picked up what he can, and he's got incredible tools and skill set that the Chiefs can take advantage of that in just specific situations. And I think that's what they're focusing on using him with.
Couple of more questions for our Chiefs insider, Matt Derrick, joining us live from New Orleans on Super Bowl week here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. Matt, which Chiefs player is the most important on the defensive side of the ball? The Chiefs are going to accomplish what they want to accomplish against this Eagles offense, which is, again, keyed by Saquon Barkley, but more multifaceted than sometimes he gets credit for. Hurts has had a nice year, and he's got two great wide receivers and an outstanding tight end. Which defensive player for the Chiefs in this matchup is the most important?
I might completely cop out on you here. But that's because I think it's easy to say, Chris Jones or Trent McDuffie. I mean, specific situations. Maybe even you want to say Nick Bolton, because if he's going to be able to take on Saquon at that level, that's a huge thing. I think it's a trio of players, and how the Chiefs use them, and how they kind of rotate, where they line up, where they kind of attack this Eagles offense. Because between Shamari Connor, Jaden Hicks, and Leo Chenal, you're talking about three guys that I think are pretty important as far as the rotation goes, where you put them, how they kind of play interchangeable, the versatility that they give you to maybe play with 5 or 6 defensive backs, put some of those guys in the box. So now you got a little bit more speed, so that you can be flexible. You can be prepared for Saquon, but you've also got, because you got big defensive backs out there, but you also got guys that can cover Dallas Goedert over the middle and, not leave you susceptible to that. So, yeah, to me, I think those three guys, they be, huge in the box score, probably not MVP candidates or anything, but if one of those guys has a bad day, they're probably giving up a touchdown. And that's where I think that, they could also be on the other side, which that they could be creating a turnover, making a big stop that maybe helps the Chiefs win.
Shifting that same question over to the offensive side of the football, which skill player or players do you think that Andy Reid is going to put in position to benefit from a matchup, benefit in the scheme, and maybe put up some big numbers against this Eagles defense?
Yeah, I've been going back and forth on this and thinking about it, and I think I'll come down more and more that I think it's going to be Xavier Worthy. I mean, certainly Travis is still a guy that you can take advantage of. And I thought it was really interesting. I heard this, from the Chiefs this week, just as far as, Travis in big games, his fastest time last year, according to Next Gen Stats, of the entire 2023 season was in the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl. I mean, that just tells you how much that I think that obviously extends to Mahomes too, and some of these guys, just that, their ability to come up in big situations. But when you think about the skill players, who are young and explosive, you know what you're going to get from Kelsey. I mean, hey, it wouldn't surprise me if Travis Kelsey went out and the Eagles limited him to 3 catches for 40 yards and the Chiefs win. Also wouldn't surprise me if he had 12 catches for 180 and the Chiefs win. I think they can do it different ways, but the way that the Chiefs have been using Xavier Worthy and going to him, I just think there's a huge potential for him to be maybe the difference maker and kind of the spark in that offense to use his speed on the edges in the run game and, changing directions. That feels like it. I mean, I think if the Chiefs lean on Kareem Hunt, he could have an absolute explosive game. I mean, he's my my sleeper selection for being an MVP if the Chiefs win, because outside of Mahomes, who if the Chiefs win, most likely will be the MVP. I think there's a scenario where the Chiefs win and, Kareem has 80 yards and a couple of touchdowns, maybe even more. There's a spot where they could end up leaning on him, whether it's, to put the game away at the end, or like, Damian Williams did back in Miami, or, it's some, goal line plays and some plays, on third down, and he gets the yards that he needs and just makes those plays to help the Chiefs kind of control the pace of the game.
All right, 30 seconds, Matt, for our last question. Do the Chiefs win, and why?
I do think the Chiefs win, and I think bottom line reason is that I think they're the better team. I think they're healthier. That Eagles interior offensive line, I think, is going to be a concern. I think Chris Jones is going to have a big game, and they want this. They are so primed for this. I think that they feel like that they've got something on. They got an edge on this team, I think.
Matt,
37-31 is my final score.
Holy moly, that's a higher score than either Spencer and I came up with.
But I tell you what, I think the Chiefs might blow them out. I mean, I hesitate even saying that, because usually when I say that, it ends up being the Chiefs are down by 14 in the third quarter and come back to win.
Right. Well, however it unfolds, Matt, at the Superdome, enjoy the game. We'll look forward to reading all about it at ChiefsDigest.com. That is Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com, our Chiefs insider, joining us on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, enjoy the rest of the weekend in New Orleans and enjoy Super Bowl 59.
Appreciate it, guys. And I hope you enjoyed all the Nat sounds, including me having conversations with other people.
Hey, that's live radio. It's the beauty of it, right, Matt? Thanks again for your time.
Thanks, guys.
That is Matt Derrick. We'll step aside for a quick timeout. Come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk. Quick round of change my mind here on 580 Sports Talk to wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. Spencer, changed my mind. The wrong man won NFL MVP last night.
I don't know. I've been going back and forth about who should have won this award ever since they announced it last night.
In case you missed it, Josh Allen was named the NFL MVP last night.
I will say it was definitely telling that Lamar Jackson wasn't there at the event. Because if he won, what would have happened? I don't know. So I don't know. I thought about that. It was weird that he wasn't there, but I think that Josh Allen's made it a little further this year, obviously. I don't know when AP votes are due.
The regular season award, though, is my thing.
I think
Jackson threw for 41 touchdowns and 4 picks, and he rushed for 900-plus yards.
I have problems about a lot of the awards given out last night, or a couple of the awards given out last night, but I will say maybe they were feeling like, oh, we doubted the Bills, and look what they did. Maybe that's how some voters felt. Maybe they thought Josh was going to have a bad season because he didn't have a receiver.
It feels like the Nikola Jokic thing in the NBA where they're like, man, we can't give Lamar 3 MVPs. He hasn't gone to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We can't give him a third MVP.
Did you see that the AP dropped everyone's votes?
Yes. They released everyone's votes. We now know how everyone voted.
Yeah.
No.
Shout out to Jaden Daniels getting some MVP votes.
I look, Josh Allen's a great player. I got nothing against Josh Allen. To say that he was more valuable this year than Lamar Jackson's nonsense. You haven't changed my mind?
Yes, real quick. DeMar Hamlin should have won comeback player of the year. You don't come back from anything more than basically dying on the field.
No, that's true, but we're 2 years removed from that instead of just one.
I don't.
And Burrow came off the injury. I get it. Like the year that Hamlin should have won it was last year.
Yes.
He lost to Joe Flacco, which was nonsense.
Yes. But he was up for it again. He should have won it.
Yeah, they should have made makeup call for sure. We could have seen a makeup call. We're talking more Super Bowl in the 4 o'clock hour. We got a What Is Wrong With You championship as well. Get your predictions in 785-272-9429, the YouTube live chat. 580 Sports Talk continues. Let's get it. Hour number 2 on a Super Red Friday edition of 580 Sports Talk, live and direct from the capital city on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com. Special hello to everyone watching us on our video stream. We see you. We are on YouTube. The channel is 580 Sports Talk. We are on Facebook, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, kicking it with you until 5:30 tonight. We'll break away for high school basketball. I will leave after What Is Wrong With You this hour and set up shop at the Charger Dome tonight for our 580 Preps Game of the Week doubleheader. United Kansas Conference action. Topeka West playing host to Piper. Both of the Pirates girls and boys teams are state ranked in 5A. The girls are number 5. Boys are number 2. Topeka West boys are number 6. They played already this year back in December at Piper. West came out of there with a 1-point win. So the rematch should be awesome. Very much looking forward to the games tonight and hoping that you will join us. That's me and Larry Latimer on the broadcast tonight here on the 580 Preps Game of the Week on 580 WIBW. Of course, 10 o'clock tonight, Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show. The sprint to March begins with this week of high school basketball action. Of course, the first week of March is your sub-state week. Week after that, state week. And we've got lots more high school hoops coming your way throughout February and March here on 580 WIBW. Saturday, Sunflower Showdown, 1 o'clock tip-off from Bramlage, 12 o'clock noon pregame starts here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 for the K-State Sports Network. K-State women have a huge game Saturday as well, facing a top 25 team in Oklahoma State at Gallagher-Iba Arena, America's favorite wrestling gymnasium. Shout out to our guy, Brendan, who's still on vacation this week. That game will be heard over on our sister station, the Big 94.5 Country, 1:30 pregame, 2 o'clock tip-off on Saturday for the K-State women, overlapping with the men's game. So the men will be here on 580. The women will be on the Big 94.5 Country. Then on Sunday, it's Super Bowl 59. The Kansas City Chiefs going for the unprecedented Lombardi Trophy three-peat against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chiefs seeking a 5th all-time Lombardi Trophy. Eagles looking for their 2nd. Pre-game coverage from Westwood One begins at 1 o'clock Sunday here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We are contractually prohibited from bringing you the Chiefs Radio Network game broadcast, so we will bring you the Westwood One game broadcast with Kevin Harlan and Kurt Warner on the call. And following the trophy presentation from the Superdome, we will then switch our radio coverage to Chiefs Radio Network postgame. So you'll hear from the Chiefs locker room. And again, hopefully it's a party and not a funeral on Sunday night in the Big Easy. That's our weekend of coverage, all spelled out for you right here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Something going on right now over on our sister stations, the Big 94.5 Country and Country 106.9. It's our Country Cares St. Jude Radiothon yesterday and today. We raised over $35,000 yesterday for the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, and certainly hoping to raise some more today. The telethon remains ongoing, and you can become a partner in hope today. And I wanted to say personally thank you to everybody who stepped up to remind the world that Country cares for St. Jude's kids. Your support as a partner in hope means that families never receive a bill from St. Jude for treatment, travel, housing, or food, so they can focus on helping their child beat cancer. It's only $19 a month to become a partner in hope. When you sign up, you get the This Shirt Saves Lives t-shirt. To become a partner in hope today, the Country Cares St. Jude Radio Telethon, the phone number to call is 800-592-3530. 800-592-3530. We hope you'll consider becoming a partner in hope today and helping those kids at the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. 800-592-3530.
Just under 2 hours left in the Radiothon. Just talked to Britt Z over there on 94.5 right before we came back on air, and things are looking good to hit the marker where they hit last year, or even get even higher than last year.
That's awesome. We're happy to hear that. And 580 Sports Talk listenership would like to help out our friends over on the Big 94.5 Country and Country 106.9 to become partners in hope today. We want to encourage you to do that. 800-592-3530. Still to come this hour, Got What Is Wrong With You. Going to crown a weekly champion on What Is Wrong With You today, our first February champion. What Is Wrong With You, sponsored by State Farm agent Ryan Mo Winkle. Also, Spencer's going to give you his keys to the game for Sunday's Super Bowl 59. Gave you mine at the top of the show. Available on our website, 580wibw.com, and available on Spotify by searching 580 Sports Talk. Still got sports headlines on second thought, all that good stuff before we break away at 5:30 for high school hoops. But something I wanted to talk about today with regards to this Super Bowl. We throw a lot of numbers at you on this show sometimes. Sometimes I, as a host, worry that we get too stat-centric. I try to consciously, I try to be self-conscious about that. I try not to overwhelm you, the listener, with numbers. Because this is a not a visual medium. You're not looking at bar graphs or charts or things like that. Every now and again, we'll throw something up as a visual aid on the YouTube chat, but try not to overwhelm people with stats. But we do go to the numbers quite a bit. Myself and Brendan in particular consider ourselves, stats guys, analytics guys. Spencer, do you really dig into that stuff? Like not everybody does, but do you really dig into it, or is it just kind of a here and there
type stuff?
Sure.
I don't have like Brendan. I know he's got that or the NFL Plus.
Yeah,
where he goes in and does all that on Monday mornings after games.
Yeah, the AWS stuff.
Yeah,
and, grinding tape. Brendan's a tape eater, or he was before he had a kid. I don't know that. I don't know that fatherhood allows you to eat as much tape.
Nope.
Early fatherhood definitely doesn't. I can empathize with that. But so we do. We will throw a lot of numbers at you on this show, and some of them we're able to explain better than others. And over the course of listening to the show, maybe you've asked us a question about them, or maybe you've Googled them to learn more about a metric like DVOA or success rate or EPA. Those are the three most commonly used advanced stats on this radio program. Maybe when you hear those acronyms come out of our mouths, you roll your eyes and say, oh, boy, those dorks are getting in their calculators again. Why don't you watch a game and not a spreadsheet, you dorks? And look, if that's you, I totally understand. I get it. I really do. But we hope that we have never given you the idea that we hold fast to the concept of one stat being better than another, or one stat being the only stat that has any predictive value. To me, the statistics are just another way of interpreting and understanding the games that we watch. And sometimes the numbers do lead us to a place where what we end up seeing on Sunday makes sense based on what we've been looking at and talking about Monday through Friday. So if the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Chiefs on Sunday and they win the Super Bowl, there will be a lot of numbers we'll be able to point to that will explain what happened. And I don't just mean the numbers from the game itself. The numbers that have told the story of the 2024 season tell a story of an Eagles team that is, again, this is according to some metrics. I'm using air quotes here. You'll have to pretend you can see them if you're listening along. Better. The Eagles have been better than the Chiefs, according to some of those statistics, DVOA in particular. The Eagles have the number one defense in the league, according to the advanced stats. And according to the not advanced stats, they're the number one scoring defense and the number two total defense in the NFL. They have the advantage, the Eagles do, in pretty much every value metric that persisted throughout the season. And that makes a certain amount of sense. The Eagles have won a lot of games handily, including most recently the game that we have freshest in our minds when it comes to the Eagles, the NFC Championship game. Meanwhile, quite notably, the Chiefs only seem to win games by 3 points or one score, to be more specific about it. They've won, I believe now it's 18 consecutive games that have been contested within one score, a margin of 1 to 8 points. The Chiefs keep winning those close games. And what the advanced stats will lean on is the idea that close games feel like coin flips, and you can't keep flipping heads over and over again. Eventually, that coin's going to land tails. Eventually, the Chiefs aren't going to get that break in the close game. Eventually, it's going to swing the other way. That's what the numbers will tell us. There are plenty of numbers you can find and dig up and excavate for this game that will point to an Eagles win. There are. But if the Chiefs win, when they win, in my opinion, I made my prediction earlier. We both did. Spencer and I are both picking the Chiefs. I've got 27-23. Spencer's got 34-27 Chiefs winning. We're both on the over 48.5 or whatever that's worth to you. Entertainment purposes only. When the Chiefs win on Sunday, in my opinion, we're not going to talk about the numbers. And again, I don't just mean the season-long narrative thread that some of the statistics, advanced or otherwise, present us. We won't be talking about any one line from the, I don't think, if the Chiefs win on Sunday. We're going to be talking about Mahomes making magic happen on a pivotal third down in the second half. We're going to be talking about Travis Kelce knowing exactly where to be for a pivotal reception that extends a scoring drive. We're going to talk about Chris Jones blowing through a double team on a third down to come up with a clutch second half sack. Or we're going to be talking about Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo, maybe one, maybe the other, more likely both, calling exactly the right play at exactly the right time. The little things, the intangibles, the instincts, those are the things that have made the Chiefs dynastic over time. Those little edges. And I don't know how you go about quantifying that. There's not a stat for that. There are some stats that sort of nod at it, like this from an Alex Kirshner article that I saw online today, I believe from The Analyst. Patrick Mahomes has had 9 chances in his NFL career to tie or take the lead in a playoff game inside the final minute of regulation. And he has been successful on 8 of those 9 drives. That is an 89% success rate in those do or die, gotta have it, win or lose situations. Every other quarterback, you throw every quarterback in the pile, the success rate is 44%. This is not as easy as Patrick Mahomes made it look. Even the great Tom Brady only succeeded 60% of the time on his 15 chances to tie or take the lead in a playoff game in the final minute. Peyton Manning, only 29%, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen, failed 5 of 7 times. Brett Favre is an all-timer. He was 0 for 5. Never made it happen in his playoff career. Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Joe Flacco, sub 50% success rates. Patrick Mahomes gets it done 89% of the time. 9 chances, 8 successes at putting together the drive to tie the game or win the game in the final minute. That's one way, I suppose, you can quantify what we're talking about with the Chiefs here, but there aren't enough specific enough stats that narrow things down to performance when it matters, for whatever definition of that you'd like. So maybe the only way to quantify it is in diamonds. Maybe that's it. Maybe the thing that we point to, the thing that we'll point to if the Chiefs are victorious once again on Sunday, are the diamonds. The ones in the 3 Super Bowl rings they've already got. The ones in the 4th ring, they're 2 days away. Maybe that's how we quantify what has made the Chiefs great. It's not the numbers that show how they win. It's just that they win. I keep going back, Spencer, to, gosh, was it the Carolina game? Was it the Oakland game? I genuinely don't remember which game it was in the middle of the season. But it was
coined for the coin.
The
coin for the coin place. You said Oakland.
Oh, yeah. Jar.
Coin jar.
Jar. Yeah. Coin for the coin place. Yeah.
Good. All I heard was Oakland in my head, and I know that you do that bit. So
I do. Jar. Yeah, absolutely.
Jar.
I don't remember if it was Carolina, the Vegas game, or the second Charger game. I want to say it was the Carolina game. Because then obviously they'd come off the loss to Buffalo the week before. And all we talked about all week that week was, they're going to crush the Panthers, right? And then they didn't crush the Panthers. Came down to a last-second kick to beat the Panthers. But I keep coming back to
who pretty much turned their season around.
I mean, they did, yeah.
Like they went from a 3-8 team at that point. What did they finish? Like 7-10 or something?
They ended up finishing 5-12, but
they played better.
For that didn't feel as much of an outlier performance for Bryce Young the way he played in the second half of the season. That all is true.
That's what I meant.
But I remember in the locker room after whichever game it was, I swear it was a Carolina game. It might have been the Vegas game, but it was one of those two.
Yeah.
Where Andy Reid's addressing the team, and Patrick Mahomes is like visibly annoyed. Like he looks like somebody who didn't win a football game. There's frustration in the locker room that, all right, yeah, we won a game, but hey, we didn't play to our standard. We didn't play the way we want to play. We didn't perform the way we wanted to perform. And Andy Reid, the thing that Andy Reid said has stuck with me throughout this entire Chiefs season, and it is sticking with me going into Super Bowl 59. Andy Reid said, guys, winning is the important part. There are a lot of ways to get to the end of 60 minutes of football with more points on the board than the other team. That's the objective. And what has made these Chiefs great is their ability to get to that game state. More points than the other guy when the clock says 0. They get to that game state by hook or by crook. Any way they have to do it.
Yeah.
Anybody who has to step up and make the clinching play, they go and do it. Does the offense have to go win the game? Fine. Does the kicker? Doesn't even matter the kicker this year. They had 3 different guys make game-winning field goals. Is it a special teams play that wins the game? Because they had not only 3 game-winning field goals, they also had a game-winning blocked field goal this year, remember, from Leo Chanel against the Broncos. Fine. Then it's special teams. Oh, did the offense not close it out? Is it going to have to be a defense that goes and gets the stop to seal the deal? They'll go do it too. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. It doesn't matter who makes the play. Just that you get across the finish line.
Yeah, and I think that kind of goes back to who Patrick Mahomes is, right? I heard a bit of a podcast from Adam Schefter that he recorded at the ESPN headquarters before the draft. Adam posted this on social media earlier today. Basically, he was talking about the success that he saw in college and the stats and the Big 12 championships and whatever. He said, all I want to do in the NFL is win Super Bowls. And I think this year and last year are one of those years that are like, that's his driving force. Let's win Super Bowls. Let's as a team come together and do this. I don't care about my stats. And he didn't even finish did he finish 4th in MVP voting?
He finished below Jared Goff in MVP voting.
Yes.
I can tell you that.
And it doesn't matter because they're playing for his chance to go 3-peat.
He was 6th.
Yes.
He was 6th in MVP voting behind Allen, Jackson, Barkley, Burrow, and Goff. Jared Goff got more MVP votes this year than Patrick Mahomes.
But it doesn't matter because guess what Patrick Mahomes is playing for?
Right.
A 3rd straight Super Bowl. Something no one's ever done.
And it's the winning that is the important part. That to me, it's the defining quote of really the last 2 years of Chiefs football. Because I think that this team, even though it was more successful in the regular season, is of a piece of last year's team where I think the early Mahomes years, you looked at the Chiefs as a wrecking machine. You looked at the Chiefs as, oh, no doubt about it, that's the best team in the NFL. That's the best offense in the NFL. That's a machine. That's a juggernaut. I don't believe we've looked at the Chiefs the last 2 years and felt the same way. How do I know? People picking against the Chiefs throughout the year, throughout the regular season and into the playoffs, even though the Chiefs won 15 of the 16 games in which they were trying to win. They were never treated like a juggernaut. They were never treated like the 15-2 team that they ended up being. And the reason for that is how, right? You looked at the how of it, the numbers behind it, and it didn't look impressive. Point differential didn't look impressive. Rankings in the basic, the classic stats, total offense, total defense, that didn't look impressive. Even the advanced metrics, which were kinder, still didn't put the Chiefs in that elite company. The only thing that made the Chiefs elite is that number in the win column. The winning is the important part. It's not the how. It's only the how many that you have more of the points than the other team does at the end of each game. And that comes down to the X's and O's edge that Reed and Spagnuolo give this team on a game in, game out basis. They are the better coach team. And it's down to the playmaking genius, the calm and cool and collected Patrick Mahomes. If the game is close and the Chiefs have a chance to go win it, he's going to go win it. And it doesn't matter. Mahomes could be 3 for 20 passing with 4 picks in a game. And if it's a 4-point game in the fourth quarter, he's going to go win it. That's what matters. It's the performance in the big moments. It's the confidence in the big moments. It's the know-how. It's the veteran savvy. It's the X's and O's advantage. It's all of those things. You maybe can't distill those into a statistic with a catchy acronym, but you can measure it in diamonds. You can measure it in Lombardi trophies. And I think the Chiefs are going to add to their Lombardi trophy collection on Sunday because of it. We'll take a timeout, come back with What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. So what is wrong with you time on 580 Sports Talk? 2 new stories today. Try to take down our current champion, a Wingstop 2-piece with ranch and a side of hot grease. It's a cumbersome name, but it's descriptive. The 19-year-old Wingstop manager who tried to de-escalate a fracas at her store by throwing ranch dressing and hot grease on the people who are acting the fool. Yeah, look, I mean, I understand wanting to take matters into your own hands, but not with like hot grease, man. You could do so much damage with the grease from the fryer. My God. Man, she had it. Anyway, 2 new stories today. For my story, we're going to Wisconsin. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. 11 at night, eating a whole bunch of Taco Bell and then drinking until I'm unresponsive. I've been there a time or two.
Sounds like college.
Yeah, maybe into my mid-20s. Not proud of that, but maybe into my mid-20s, I've been known to, throw down some Taco Bell and then drink some craft beers and call it a night, whether I wanted to or not at some point. I've been there. I also did not have a bunch of children with me when I did it. So I was not a threat to the public.
Because you're responsible.
I was responsible. Not. Yes. This is 40-year-old Nicole Coyne of Brookfield, Wisconsin, charged with 5 counts of misdemeanor DUI with a minor and 5 counts of felony child neglect, according to a news release from the Kanawha County Sheriff's Office in Cross Lanes, West Virginia. Deputies said they found Coyne slumped over the center console of her vehicle and unresponsive around 11 p.m. Wednesday at a Taco Bell.
I know where this is.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've been to that Taco Bell.
You've been to the Cross Lanes Taco Bell?
Yes.
Give us a review. Give us a Yelp review of the Cross Lanes Taco Bell.
It's a good Taco Bell.
Solid?
Yeah, it's a solid Taco Bell.
Good crunch wraps?
I don't remember. We got off the interstate, had some on the way back to college. So.
Okay. Yeah. All right. That's really funny.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a second, but I was like, I've really been there once.
Well, you did not catch a DUI charge outside of it, so you're up on this woman. Also, she had 5 children ranging in age from 6 years to 2 months. And all of them were showing signs of neglect, soiled diapers, urine-covered clothing. There were cans of craft beer scattered across the console. Coyne was awoken by the deputies after multiple attempts. She's accused of not being able to provide her name or date of birth and was allegedly unable to walk. So, this one's got a big, big problem. Awful story, really. But look, late night at the Taco Bell with some beers. Like, I understand the compulsion. I do. But you got to be a responsible steward of children at that point. We don't know if they're all her kids.
Yeah.
But you got to be a responsible adult in that situation. Your story, Spencer.
Yes, we're going to Caldwell, Idaho. Authorities in Idaho say they've arrested a man for burglary after admitting to a theft scheme at Walmart. According to the Caldwell Police Department, 32-year-old Dylan Rockwell was taken into custody after he was caught using a ring with a barcode for tomato soup to disguise large items at checkout.
I think I've seen this in a movie.
Police say they responded last Sunday night to a Walmart store regarding a theft in progress. Officers were told that he had left the store, but were able to track him down to his house after receiving a description of him and his vehicle. Police detained the 32-year-old in his residence and recovered the stolen merchandise. During questioning, officers said Rockwell confessed to committing several thefts from Walmart. He admitted that he had been using a ring with a barcode for tomato soup to scan larger items, tricking the register into listing them at a much lower price. This time, police said he had stolen a grill valued at $300.
They thought he was going to get out of there with a grill. Like that's why they used to have people. And frankly, we need to put more people to work at the grocery stores. Like we need to fewer of these self-checkout. We need people policing this because you can't walk out with a grill, some booze, like a rotisserie chicken, and your receipt says you paid for 30 cans of Campbell's tomato soup.
Yeah,
it can't be that. Very funny that he tried it.
He's got a ring on, and he just says, "All right."
Yeah, he thought it was the perfect crime. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I had a different story, and I saw this story, and I was like, I gotta change it.
And he thought it was a perfect crime. He really did. He thought he was going to get away with it. The police rolled up, and he folded like a cheap pen. He was like, "Yeah, man. Yeah, I tried to pay soup prices for this grill."
I can see how this is going down. Have you ever seen those videos where people have stolen things, but all those stores can do is follow you out to your car.
Yeah.
Because they can't take any action.
Right.
So they literally followed out to his car and gave a description of his car and what he looked like. And the police were searching and they found his car.
Not hard in a town of less than 60,000 people.
Yes.
Like, I mean, Caldwell's not small, but it's also not big. Yeah, that one wins today. That's really funny.
Yeah.
I can't put that ahead of the Wingstop story, though.
No, I don't. I think Wingstop wins this week.
Yeah, we're going to go with the Wingstop manager through hot grease on some rowdy customers. That's a whole thing there. That's going to be our weekly champion, our first one of February for 580 Sports Talk. That's going to do it for me. I'm out of here. I'm going to the Charger Dome for some high school hoops. Our 580 Preps game of the week tonight is Topeka West playing host to Piper. Coverage starts in about an hour or so. Spencer's got you the rest of the way on this edition of 580 Sports Talk.
580 Sports Talk, the youngest in command movement here. 441. Clock about to turn to 442. Dane Lucero off to the Charger Dome as he gets ready for some 580 Preps Hoops. Coming up around 5:30-ish, we'll turn it over to him and the coach, Larry Latimer, on the call for some 580 Preps tonight. Before we get into my keys to the game here, I went back because this is keys to the game / talking football segment. I went back and found our award predictions back from September 4th. And one of us correctly predicted the MVP. And the other two of us picked Mahomes. And that was Dan and I both picked Patrick Mahomes. It was, in fact, Josh Allen. Brendan with the right pick. None of us were right in the players of the year, offense or defense. None of us. We had players that were either hurt at some point this year or didn't have productive seasons. I was right with offensive player of the year, and no one was right for defensive player of the year, and no one was right for coach of the year. But I just thought I'd find that there. That shout out to Brendan on vacation this week, but he got Josh Allen. He picked him at plus 900 as the MVP candidate, or as his MVP pick back on September 4th of 2024. So there you go. Shout out Brendan. Hopefully he's enjoying his time off this weekend. If you bet that, a little bit of units back in his account. So there you go. But let's get into my keys to the game for this weekend. First one, get to Jalen Hurts. Make his evening a nightmare. Whether it's timely corner blitz or having Chris Jones move and come off the edge, or Charles Omenihu forcing a fumble, just rattle him all night long, because you've got the run defense, you've got the linebackers to stop him. And I think it's huge. You heard the mic'd up with Charles Omenihu and Chris Jones at the end of the AFC title game. Charles Omenihu is hyped for this game, and I think he's going to come out and do what he's done for most of the playoffs, and that's get after the quarterback, and that's take him down, sack fumbles, the whole nine. I think that's what's going to be a key in the game. My next key, establish the running game. You don't want to be one-dimensional in this one, and you don't want to force things if you're Patrick Mahomes. Going back to Super Bowl 55 4 years ago. Was it 4 years ago? Yeah, 2021. I wasn't here, obviously. I just graduated college in 2020, and I was doing a podcast on my own. And in the podcast, I did basically throughout the NFL playoffs. And I said Tom Brady and the Bucs were going to win that game if Tom Brady didn't turn the ball over. And I said Patrick Mahomes was going to have a chance to win that game and cement himself as the passing of the torch, if you will, at the time, if he didn't turn it over. Well, unfortunately, Mahomes turned it over too many times in that one, and there was no turnovers for Tom Brady. So I think establishing the run and no turnovers is a huge point in this as well. But my point with establishing the run, you don't want to become one-dimensional where you have to throw the ball and force things. Kareem Hunt wanted to be in this game so badly, and they got him there. We've talked with Matt Derrick. We've, talked with Mitch Holthus about the meaning for these guys, the team rallying around these few guys that hadn't made the Super Bowl to get to the Super Bowl. They're getting up there in age. And I think this could potentially be a Kareem Hunt game if he can get past the first line of defense. He's done so good at missing tacklers if they can get him out on the edge. If the offensive line can win that battle in the trenches, that goes hand in hand with establishing the run. And a lot of these might be overlaps of what Dan thinks, because there's not so many different things that you can do. But another one that I want to do, that I want to have as my key to the game here, you gotta find your playmakers, and you gotta find guys open. You have to play guys open. Travis Kelce might get the old double team, we're going to take him out of the game. Well, guess what? Somebody will be open. Is that somebody going to be DeAndre Hopkins? Is that somebody going to be Juju Smith-Schuster? Is that going to be Xavier Worthy? And whoever it's going to be, you need to take advantage of it, right? Another key to the game for me, special teams, special teams, special teams. You win it in any ways, blocking field goals. We saw Justin Reed trying to time up the snaps. Leo Chenal blocking a field goal to end the game earlier this season. I think that's going to be huge, but also the return game. We know how much Nico Remigio has shown his potential. Well, how about you do that in the Super Bowl, Nico? You've had that Super Bowl experience all week this week. It's your first Super Bowl where you're actually playing in the game. You're on the practice squad last year. So you didn't have you were there. You were there in Vegas for Super Bowl week, like all the guys in the practice squad, but you weren't preparing to play the game. You knew the odds were stacked against you. Somebody had to have gotten hurt in the training camp practice or sick or whatever. But now it's his time, and he needs to prove that he's going to make the team next year as their kick returner. Another key to the game for me, I think, is going to be kind of just back to what Dan said, finding the stars. Stars play like stars. Kelsey, you got to find him. Kelsey will try and get open no matter what it is. The best part about Kelsey's game is when he runs a route, and guess what? That route's covered. He will come off that route and try to make his own route. That's, I think, one of the best parts about Travis Kelce's game is how he's able to make up routes along the way and be successful at it. It's the camaraderie. It's the relationship that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce have. It's like Pat knows, hey, I might not have him open there, but if I tell him get open, he will get open and he will be a playmaker for the Chiefs. I think you need to see Pacheco step up as well in this game. I think when you look at Isaiah Pacheco, he's a guy that seemingly underperformed, right? He's coming off the injury, but he's underperformed. Kareem Hunt has fully taken over, I think, RB1 from him because, one, he can block. He can pass block. And I think that's a big part of it all. But you need to see what he can do. Obviously, I'm just going to give you some more. We got some more time here in this segment. I'm going to go and double up on what Dan said. You can't give up the long game. You can't give up to Saquon Barkley the long runs. You need to stop him. Justin Reed spoke earlier this week, and he talked about trying to contain Saquon Barkley. And that's going to be a huge thing is if they're able to contain Saquon Barkley, because they know he's not going to have 12 rushes for 18 yards. They know that won't happen. They know that there's no chance that he has negative yards per rush or, whatever. There's no way he has under 3 yards per rush. They just need to stop the big plays from happening. I think if you stop the big plays from happening, then you should be fine in this one. I think that is going to be huge. You stop the big plays, I don't think Saquon scores touchdowns. So those are my keys to the game. Just want to kind of circle back to my prediction. Obviously, Prairie Band, they've got it Chiefs by 1, over under 48.5. I'm way over that. 34 Chiefs with the win. Eagles 28. Patrick Mahomes is the MVP, and why not, right? There's no reason not to pick Patrick Mahomes. That is why not pick Patrick Mahomes, right? That will do it for this segment. We come back, I will have my on second thought. And you guys might have heard my on second thought a little bit ago without knowing it was my on second thought. We'll hear that on the other side of this break. This is 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW. On second thought here, 580 Sports Talk, I would say we have a group on second thought today, and I think it goes back to September 4th of 2024. All of us picking, and it was actually the number was brought out to my attention. I knew there was only two, but looking at the number, I didn't even think about that. But I went and sent the picture of Brendan picking the correct MVP player in our group chat. And I said, found our NFL award predictions, shout out Brendan. And then he texted back, wow, we went a combined 2 for 18. So that's my own second thought. It's a big group on second thought. Obviously Dan and myself had Mahomes winning MVP. Offensive player of the year, Dan and Brendan had CD Lamb. I had Tyreek Hill. Defensive player of the year, Dan had Micah Parsons. Brendan had Max Crosby, and I had Aiden Hutchinson. One of those guys finished the season on the IR. Offensive rookie of the year, Brendan and Dan both had Caleb Williams. Had no faith in Jaden Daniels. I, for one, had faith in Jaden Daniels, and he was the offensive rookie of the year. Defensive rookie of the year, Chop Robinson, was Dan's pick. Latu Lotu was Brendan's pick, and Murphy from Seattle was my pick. All of those were incorrect. And coach of the years, Brendan had Matt LaFleur, Sean McDermott for Dan, and I had D'Amico Ryans. And yeah, I guess the only candidate of those three at the end of the year that you would even put into the conversation would be Sean McDermott. D'Amico Ryans, just that wasn't the fired their offensive coordinator, and Matt LaFleur, obviously. They didn't have a great end of their season, but that was a group on second thought for us here. Throwing it back to our NFL award predictions from September 4th of 2024. But that will do it for this second hour of 580 Sports Talk. We will have a headline segment coming up in the final half-ish hour. We will see the final injury report and participation report for the Chiefs and Eagles Super Bowl, and much more coming up in the final 30 minutes or so of 580 Sports Talk here on 580 WIBW.
HelloGarage.com. Do you have 3 ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou, a term provider, 800-555-2085. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems. If you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy should only cost about $100 to $200 per month. Big Lou may have a solution for your previous policies as well. You may even save enough money to lighten the load on your new $1 million policy. Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-555-2085. That's 800-555-2085. For $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with, call Big Lou at 800-555-2085.
Stay connected for news, sports, weather, and ag on the Voice of Kansas, FM 104.9, 580 AM, WIBW, Topeka.
CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Michael Wallace. The CDC says flu cases are surging, making this the worst flu season since 2009. 12-year-old Alexandra Cantor of Ardsley, New York is suffering with it.
I think I caught the flu from a recent gymnastics competition because we were touching a lot of the same things.
CBS's Janet Chamlian is in South Bend, Indiana.
Fewer than half of the children in this country have gotten the vaccine this year, and numbers are skyrocketing across the country. So much so that schools are closing and pediatric hospitals, the emergency rooms, are overwhelmed.
The Trump administration is ruffling feathers at the Centers for Disease Control. CBS's Alexander Tin explains.
Multiple health officials tell CBS News that the Trump administration is now wielding unprecedented influence over the CDC's once independent Morbidity and Mortality Weekly Report, the main journal that agency scientists use to release public health research. Studies about bird flu have been stalled for weeks, and Trump officials ordered the CDC to instead publish research about the health risks of wildfires.
A judge has temporarily blocked the Trump administration from placing 2,200 USAID workers on paid leave. Robert Weissman is co-president of Public Citizen, which filed the lawsuit on behalf of 2 federal employee unions to stop the dismantling of the aid agency. He says if that happens, the result will be catastrophic.
Soup kitchens around the world are shutting down, providing food to desperately poor and hungry people.
President Trump says some FBI agents who investigated January 6th cases will be fired.
We had some corrupt agents, and those people are gone, or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically.
More from CBS's Major Garrett.
FBI agents in the field assigned to these cases are still very worried about that. And even if they retain their jobs, they're worried about their identities being disclosed because they fear harassment.
The Pentagon is sending another 1,500 active duty troops to the Mexican border to help with Trump's immigration crackdown. Hamas has revealed the names of the 3 Israeli hostages it will release tomorrow. Israel will release dozens more Palestinian prisoners. CBS News has learned NASA is trying to bring astronauts Sonny Williams and Butch Wilmore back from the International Space Station in mid-March, 2 weeks earlier than planned. They've been stuck up there since June. CBS's John Dickerson spoke with Williams.
Where did you find the patients, Sonny?
Those people have the ability to go get a latte, so they shouldn't complain too much. But up here, it's just incredible. Like where we are right now. You come and look out the window and you just go, wow, I got to pinch myself to be able to have this view.
You can catch more of John's interview with Sonny Williams on tonight's CBS Evening News. This is CBS News.
Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get the parts and service you need fast from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Kansas Information Network News. I'm Lisa Rothman. An argument turns deadly in Kansas City. Here's Brandon Dixon with the report.
Police say one person has been killed and another critically injured after a large argument escalated to a shooting Wednesday night. Happened on Eastwood Traffic Way, and when officers arrived, they found a man with gunshot wounds who was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. Another man was taken in a private vehicle to an area hospital where he ultimately died. Currently, no suspects are in custody. I'm Britta Dixon.
A man is dead after a train collided with an SUV in northeast Kansas. Emergency crews were called to a private driveway near Delia on Wednesday after a train struck a vehicle. Authorities say 51-year-old Adam Foster had stopped his vehicle on a set of railroad tracks before being struck. Foster died at the scene. The incident is under investigation. This is Kansas Information Network News.
Enter to win a $100 Visa gift card and swag from Agri-Services Agency at the Farm Profit Seminar on February 27th. Insurance is confusing and prices and coverages are changing. Learn about the upside to insurance and be entered to win a $100 Visa gift card and swag when you attend the Insurance Workshop. Agri-Services Agency offers comprehensive insurance coverage at a price that fits your budget and tailored to your operation. Attend the February 27th Farm Profit Seminar at the Canaquip location in Wamego.
Now Taxes is 100% free when you file in the TurboTax app if you didn't file with us last year.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, just do your own taxes in the app by 2/18.
What if I have lots of forms?
All good, all 100% free.
What if I have 3 jobs?
Still 100% free.
What if I once saw Bigfoot?
That has nothing to do with taxes, so still 100% free.
That's what I'm talking about.
Now this is taxes. See if you qualify in the TurboTax app. Excludes TurboTax Live, must start and file an app by 2/18.
Snakes, zombies, public speaking. The list of fears is endless. But the real danger is in your hand when you're behind the wheel. Distracted driving is what's really scary and even deadly. Eyes forward, don't drive distracted. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
We could all use more time. Amazon Business offers smart business buying solutions so you can spend more time growing your business and less time doing the admin. I can see why they call it smart. Learn more at amazonbusiness.com.
Here's your updated forecast on 580 WIBW. Cloudy skies expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 43. Winds out of the southeast, 8 to 15 miles an hour. Cloudy skies expected again tonight. Slight chance for drizzle. Lows level off around 32. Slight chance for drizzle tomorrow. Daytime highs approaching 44. Lots of sunshine. I'm meteorologist Ray Miller in the Capitol Federal Weather Center. Currently 40.
On air and online at 580WIBW.com.
Final 30 or so minutes here on 580 Sports Talk. It's the youngest in command movement. Spencer Dupuis hanging out with you for this last bit of the show. Dan Lucero on site for some high school basketball action. 580 Preps game of the week coming up from the Charger Dome. Topeka West taking on Piper. Girls starting first and then boys to follow. That's coming up with pregame coverage beginning within the next 30 to 40 minutes right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. As we get into things today, it's the final hour on our sister stations, Country 106.9, Big 94.5, Country of St. Jude Radiothon. You want to be a partner in hope, give them a call, 800-592-3530, 800-592-3530. Just talking with Britt Z from the Big 94.5 Country. They had 10 partners in hope in the 4 o'clock hour. How about we double that and make that 20 for the 5 p.m. hour alone? That would help so many kids with cancer. You can just help every little bit. St. Jude helps so much. Nobody gets charged for going to St. Jude, and they save so many young kids' lives. So they're the future of these times. The future of all of us are the kids that can say they conquered cancer at a young age because of the St. Jude and the research that they're able to do. Again, if you want to be a partner in hope, call 800-592-3530. After the show's over around 6 o'clock, tune over to the Big 94.5 Country, and they will give the grand total raised over the last 2 days from our St. Jude Radiothon. Again, if you want to be a partner in hope, 800-592-3530. They had 10 partners last hour. How about let's get up to 20 partners for the 5 p.m., the final hour of the St. Jude Radiothon. And if you just spend two less times a week going to get coffee or going to get fast food, that's $19. That's how much it is a month to be a partner in hope. Again, 800-592-3530, the final hour going on right now. Let's talk about what's coming up here over this weekend here. It's a busy weekend. Again, Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer will have the call tonight. Topeka West hosting Piper. That's coming up around the bottom of the hour, 5:30-ish tonight. Following that, around 10 o'clock or at 10 to 11 will be the high school scoreboard show. We are the flagship here with the Kansas Information Network for the Kansas High School Basketball Scoreboard Show. Tomorrow, a busy day across our family of stations. It all gets going with pregame coverage beginning at noon right here on 580 WIBW. The second edition of the Sunflower Showdown is a 1 p.m. tip in the Little Apple as Kansas comes to Manhattan to take on K-State. It's a 1 p.m. tip-off. Also a 1 p.m. tip-off on our sister station, Country 106.9. Washburn basketball doubleheader taking on UCM. Brendan Dorzinski will be back. Pre-game coverage begins at 12:45 with the women tipping at 1 and the men tipping after 3 o'clock. Kansas State women's basketball, the Midi Cats, they're back in action. A huge matchup tomorrow as it's a top 25 matchup as they head down to Oklahoma State. They take on the Oklahoma State Cowgirls, the 25th ranked Oklahoma State team against the 12th ranked Kansas State Midi Cats Wildcats team. That is a tip-off of 2 p.m. It's a 1:30 pregame from the K-State Sports Network. It will be on the big 94.5 Country as, again, without Aoka Lee, the Midi Cats try to go through this Big 12 schedule. On Sunday, it's Super Bowl coverage. Unfortunately, via the NFL rules, the NFL media rules, we cannot air the Chiefs radio network and Mitch Holtis's call of the game. But we have Westwood One, and guess what? If you can't hear Mitch, you hear Kevin Harlan. Kevin Harlan, Kurt Warner will be on the call. It's a 5:30 kickoff, right around 5:30, but we'll have coverage from Westwood One beginning at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. on Sunday. You're driving around doing last-minute grocery shopping before the big game. Tune into all the pregame coverage. You'll be able to hear probably a ton of interviews with the coaches and the players, and hear excellent analysis from the Westwood One crew. Scott Graham, one of the best pregame coverage voices out there. That's beginning at 1, and then after the trophy presentation, hopefully we're talking about a three-peat, but you'll hear Mitch Holtis and the Chiefs Radio Network post-game coverage after that concludes. And then after the trophy presentation, also be on the lookout for, on our YouTube page, a Chiefs Instant Reaction. Dan, Brendan, and myself will be up there after the game, reacting to the game, giving our thoughts on the game. That, again, will be after the trophy presentation Sunday night after the conclusion of Super Bowl 59. Speaking of Super Bowl 59, walkthrough practice today for both teams. Nothing's changed for the Chiefs side of things. Patrick Mahomes getting treatment on his ankle, listed as a full participant. Matt Ariza, the punter, who came down with an illness between Wednesday's practice and Thursday's practice, fully participated in practice. And tackle Jawan Taylor, dealing with a knee issue, getting treatment for that. He was a full participant all week. Well, those three guys I just listed, no game designations. The Chiefs have no game designations for active members of the 53-man roster. Well, guess what? The Eagles can't say that. They cannot say that. But the Chiefs have Sky Moore, who has been kind of a scout practice guy this week, opened his practice window on the IR from the abdominal injury. He was limited all week. He is listed as doubtful, which basically means they're not going to activate him unless another wide receiver, something happens between now and Sunday night, which may be an illness. Obviously, we know there's illness going around. There's illness going around both teams, with Ariza being sick, and on the injury report, Jalen Carter listed as illness as well. But Chiefs have Sky Moore doubtful. He's still on the IR, not on the 53-man roster. So looking at the Eagles injury report, it's much more lengthy, but they only have one person on the active roster that have a game day designation. They do have 3 other game day designations for guys on the IR. We'll get to that in a minute. There was there are 2 guys limited in participation in practice. That's offensive lineman, 3rd string center Nick Gates, listed with a groin injury, which apparently seemed to pop up between Wednesday and Thursday's practice, was limited both days, listed as questionable. Devontae Smith was limited in practice all week long with a hamstring injury. He didn't have a game day designation, so he will go. And then full participants, Jalen Carter with the illness. He was limited on Wednesday, full the rest of the week. Kenneth Gainwell, who has, I would assume at this point, has passed concussion protocol, but still dealing with the knee injury. It has concussion/knee. I would assume he passed the concussion protocol. No game day designation. He is listed as a full participant the last 2 days after being limited on Wednesday. Brandon Graham, legendary defensive end for the Eagles, who was on the injured reserve list, had his practice window opened. He was limited on Wednesday and Thursday, but fully practiced on Friday. Again, not on the 53-man roster right now, but he, with coming back from that elbow injury, listed as questionable. Zach Bond, linebacker with a groin injury. He's no game day designation, listed as a full participant today. Britton Covey, the wide receiver, on IR with the practice window open, dealing with a neck injury. He fully participated, but he is listed as out. He will not be activated to the 53-man roster at all. Landon Dickerson, the guard that played center for Cam Jurgens in the NFC title game, he is listed as a full participant. Landon Dickerson is, with a knee injury. He does not have a game day designation. He's listed as guard on their injury report, though. Dallas Goedert, the tight end, dealing with an ankle injury, fully participated all week, does not have a game day designation. Center Cam Jurgens, who is the heir apparent to Jason Kelsey, he's been dealing with a back injury. He did not start the game. He was activated in the NFC Championship game. He ended up having to come in for Dickerson later in the game. He, with that back injury, listed as a full participant all week with no game day designation. So it appears they are at full strength when it comes to those two guys. And then CJ Uzomah, the tight end, with his practice window open with coming back from an abdomen injury, fully participated all week. He is listed as questionable. That means they would have to make 2 roster moves before Sunday's game, which typically take place on Saturdays, to know if Brandon Graham or CJ Uzomah will be in the game. If not, they will downgrade them tomorrow to out. So that will be something to take a look at on social media tomorrow. But that was our first headline. Let's get to our second headline, listing down the NFL awards from last night at NFL Honors. A ton of awards given out. Josh Allen named MVP. We talked about that earlier. Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year. Patrick Surtain, the second Defensive Player of the Year. And the next category was the Rookies of the Year. The Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels. Jared Verse. The Rams player was the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And the Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, which is funny because Bill Belichick presented that award, I believe. And he had actually drafted Kevin O'Connell back in, I think it was 2008, maybe? But that was just funny that they had him presenting the award, and that he ended up, that KOC ended up winning the award. And he was a third round pick 94 in 2008 by Bill Belichick and the Patriots. Player not on there was a player that we'll also talk about, Walter Payton Man of the Year award given out last night. It was the Jaguars' Eric Armstead. You guys may remember him from last year with the 49ers. He played in the Super Bowl. But he wins the NFL Walter Payton Man of the Year award. It was a pretty cool way they presented that last night. They had Drew Brees come out. Obviously, New Orleans, that's where the NFL honors took place. And then they brought out the great Steve Gleason, who obviously dealing with ALS, and they had, through his speech abilities, through the technology, gave a little speech before they announced the winner, which was Eric Armstead, and he came up and gave a speech. That means Travis Kelce does not win the prestigious NFL award. He wasn't there anyways, so could not have picked it up at all, but Travis Kelce was the 2024 Chiefs Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee. Moving on, we also found out last night the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2025. And I don't know about you guys, but I just remember it being more than 4 players. Like, I know they choose between 4 and 8. You know, the NFL 100 year, they chose more, obviously. I just feel like I don't know if I'm wrong, but I just felt like 4 is not enough when it comes to the guys that they need to get. Like, we all know the Pro Football Hall of Fame is not as rigorous to get in as the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? Where they only pick 1-2 guys a year. Sometimes they don't even elect anybody, right? Like, and then you are off the list after a certain number of years. That doesn't happen for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but the guys going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame: Chargers legendary tight end Antonio Gates, legendary defensive back Eric Allen, defensive end who started his career with the Kansas City Chiefs, Jared Allen. He was obviously had a career year that 07 season, and the Chiefs did not re-sign him, or they placed the franchise tag on him, giving him that 1 year $8.8 million contract, which is crazy how we are 17 years later, and a defensive end I think is like double that in just 17 years. But they placed the franchise tag on him for 1 year, 8.8, but they ended up trading him after they couldn't find a deal. They traded him to the Vikings in exchange for a first-round pick, two third-round picks, one of which was used to select Jamal Charles, and then a pick swap of 6th-round picks in the 08 draft. The Vikings then signed him to a 6-year deal where he really became synonymous in the league. Obviously, you look at that last season in Kansas City, he had 15.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 11 passes defended. And then the next couple of years, he stayed at 14.5 in 08 and 09, including 2 safeties in 08 and 1 in 09. And then 3 fumble returns in 2009. But then 2010, he had kind of a down year with just 11 sacks. Before in 2010, he had a down year. Before in 2011, he had 22 sacks. And that's the year that he basically made his name 100%, like he is going to be the guy. He's going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And he gets into the Hall of Fame along with Sterling Sharp. Sterling Sharp, obviously synonymous with those Broncos teams. I believe he was on the Broncos. The Packers. He was on the Packers. Sterling Sharp. Was thinking of the wrong guy there. Shannon Sharp. But Sterling Sharp, 88 to 94, played there. He's a 3-time first-team All-Pro, 89, 92, 93, 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time receiving leader in 89, 92, 93. He had a short career, but an amazing career. 595 catches, 8,134 yards, 65 touchdowns. But the pretty cool thing was what was posted on social media after was Shannon Sharp, his brother, coming and telling him that he is a pro football. He will join his brother and go to the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. And that was a pretty great video to watch. Also note, Eli Manning is not a first ballot Hall of Famer. He did win some Super Bowls, but personally, I didn't expect him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Also, some more news coming out today. It's unfortunately some not great news if you're a Kansas State fan. The Cowboys have hired Kansas State co-offensive coordinator and offensive line coach Connor Riley as the team's new offensive line coach, reuniting him with former K-Stater Cooper Beebe and running back Deuce Vaughn as well is with the Cowboys. But that was this morning an expected hire, but is now an official hire. The Cowboys coming out and making it official. Big loss for K-State. Obviously, he is a Chris Kleiman guy. Connor Riley is. So we'll see how how K-State comes back and hires a new offensive line, or if they hire a new co-offensive coordinator, just go with one this next season. Couple other headlines here popping up. Tiger Woods is back. He commits to the Genesis Invitational, 15-time major champion. He's going to play in next week's Genesis at Torrey Pines in San Diego. The tournament, which benefits Tiger's TGR Foundation, was moved to Torrey Pines from the Riviera Country Club in the Pacific Palisades, obviously due to the devastating wildfires. But it's going to be good to see Tiger get back on tour. It'll be his first start in the PGA Tour since he had that micro decompression surgery on the lumbar sprain mid-September. He is doing so, he'll compete 9 days after the death of his mother, Cutilda Woods, who unfortunately passed away at 80 on Tuesday. So rest in peace to Tiger Woods' mother. That's about it here for 580 Sports Talk headlines. Actually, we're going to hold it here. Just got a word from Dan Lucero. So, I'll take some AMA questions. I think I've been asked a few in the chat. So throw them in the chat if you got any. We've got a few minutes before I got to hit the final word. Let me go find, what do I have on the menu for the big game? That's a good question. I haven't really talked about it. We're moving next Saturday and Saturday the 15th and get the keys on Wednesday. So have been kind of busy. I think we're probably going to do pizza. I'm not 100% sure yet, or, crock pot meal or something on Sunday. Still got to talk with the girlfriend about that. But definitely some pizza. Going to keep it a little low key this year when it comes to what's on the menu. Let's see if we have any other. Oh, the hat. What's that hat? Oh, you guys might not be able to see it. This is actually a vintage Miller Lite hat. It says Miller Time, and then it has the old style Miller Lite can. Found it on eBay. It's pretty good. eBay buy. I like to buy. I found that 580 hat on eBay that one time. So yeah. Jeffrey from earlier, is my last name French? Yes, it is partly French. My dad is French Canadian, is of descent, so that's what it is. What is the best sport to watch in person? Oh my God, this is the easiest question somebody could ask me because I could go on a soapbox. It is hockey. It is National Hockey League hockey. Watching the Capitals growing up in the Rock the Red era in downtown DC, in the Verizon Center, now Capital One Arena, like that is my favorite sports experience. I don't like to go to NFL games because I like to watch the product on TV. Because I think it's a better product on TV, but going to hockey games, hearing, just the skates on the ice, all the collisions, like it is the best sport to watch in person. And I am definitely, unfortunately, I didn't have a shot to go to any of these PHL games that were here the last time. But now that Topeka will get a team this fall, I am going to definitely try to make it to some of those games. Baseball is also a good game to go to in person. I think it depends on the time of the year. I think an April, May game or a September, October game, best baseball games to go to. June, July, and August, hottest time of the year, unless you're in a suite, obviously. I would rather watch those games on TV. That's just my personal preference. Let's see. All right. Well, we will step aside for a break. When I come back, well, final word, and then we will send things off to Dan Lucero and the coach Larry Latimer from the Charger Dome as Topeka West gets ready to take on Piper. But first, we'll have a break and then the final word here on 580 Sports Talk. Final word time here on 580 Sports Talk. The last time we will talk to you before the Chiefs go for a three-peat down in New Orleans at the Superdome Sunday night in Super Bowl 59. 5:30 is the kickoff. Again, you can tune into that here for our coverage. Unfortunately, not Mitch Holthus, but Kevin Harlan will be on the call. It's a 5:30 kickoff. Pregame coverage from Westwood One will begin here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 at 1 p.m. 4.5 hours of pregame coverage to get you ready for Super Bowl 59. And then after the conclusion of the trophy ceremony, we will have Chiefs Radio Network postgame. You'll hear from Mitch. You'll hear from all the guys you're used to in the Chiefs postgame. That coming up after the game. Unfortunately, NFL rules don't allow us to. Again, if you want to help out with the St. Jude Radiothon, just $19 a month to be a partner of Hope. 800-592-3530. We had 10 last hour. How about let's get to 20 in the next 26 minutes before they close up for the night. And my final word tonight, how about the Chiefs come out with a win, and it's all they care about, the Super Bowl. They don't care about how they played all season long, right? They care about winning the Super Bowl, right? They care about winning the Super Bowl. They care about just bringing that another Lombardi trophy home, making NFL history. So they are going to do all that they can to make NFL history. And that game kicks off 5:30 p.m. on Sunday. And it's Super Bowl 59. They'll go against the team with debatably the best roster in the whole NFL. Well, guess what? They have Patrick Mahomes. They have Andy Reid. They have Travis Kelce. And when you look at the stats and when you look at tying or winning playoff drives in the final minute, nobody better than the only Patrick Mahomes. 8 of 9 chances. It's 88.9% that he does it, and he can do it again. And the Chiefs could win their third straight Super Bowl. And we could be having another party here on Monday's edition of 580 Sports Talk, but I think the Chiefs are going to pull this one out. Obviously, in the first hour, I said 34-28, Mahomes the MVP, and I stand by that. Have a great rest of your evening, everyone. After this break, we'll send it out to the Charger Dome. Dan Lucero, the coach Larry Latimer, get you set for Topeka West hosting Piper. That's coming up, our 580 preps of the game of the week. For Dan Lucero, I'm Spencer Dupuis saying have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday for another edition of 580 Sports Talk.